Today's guest started from humble beginnings at a weekend market. Firstly selling slippers to schoolies on the Gold Coast and eventually transitioning to streetwear.
I just researched like on the forums, like these entrepreneur forums, and found this this car baby product where you could buy it in China, you know, for $1. And I was like, I could sell those for $20. So this video Snoop posted on the thing, which was so awesome, where I'm, you know, he's talking to me like, don't worry, I got you. But you can see I'm absolutely shitting my pants in the video. It's because you can hear the beeping going off in the background. That's everyone stealing shit. It was like, don't worry, I got you. You know, I'll make this the greatest thing that ever happened to you.
Right.
And then he tweeted on us and he did this and it blew up like our website, Magento, but instantly down. Calculating the share price of what it'll be where I'm going to be a billionaire, I set this Zapier to play through my Sonos speakers like the Jay-Z, a billy. And I'm like,
when it happens.
Yeah, because it's like, it's going to go off in the middle of the night. And it's like this, it's just going to go through the speakers and I'm just going to wake up and just be like, yeah.
Give it up for co-founder of one of the world's most renowned streetwear brands, Culture Kings, Simon Beard.
Yeah, Simon.
People want to be part of a winning team.
People can find a better version of themselves if they choose.
You just need to go start some shit.
Action is all that matters.
Be a man of your word.
I think I look back now and I'm like, whoa, that took some guts.
Be kind, be kind, be kind.
See you at the top. New episode every Wednesday. How are we travelling, boys?
Good. We've had a great morning, haven't we, PK?
Oh, you too.
We have, mate. The alarm went off.
We have won the morning.
We have won the morning.
I heard the car start at, 10 to 5, was it?
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yep.
That's early, boys. What were you doing?
10 to 5. Oh, you've glazed over the fact that you said you're going to be there.
I actually heard you a little bit before that.
Pretty sure I tried to motivate you the night before. So, well, you're not going to be there, are you?
And that actually stayed with me.
Yeah,
most of the
100%.
night.
It stayed with you. Didn't get you up, but it stayed with you.
Nah. You know why? I think we forgot to put the heating on.
Yeah.
I'm used to, Queensland's this, Queensland's that. So I didn't even think of the heating, and she was a bit crispy, man. So there's no way I was getting up at 10 to 5.
Apparently, we're in the depths.
This is it, is it? This is as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
which is pretty nice. Like we watched the sun come up. It's a bit
beautiful.
Romantic, isn't it? Actually,
Yeah.
but the sun
so
come
talk me
up.
through what you actually do.
PK dropped me a BFT.
Yeah.
Bundle. And then
Bundle of fun.
Yeah. And then I did
for the 5 a.m. class.
For the 5 a.m. And then PK's gone for a walk off the surfers.
Calf's a little bit tweaky, Benny. You know what I mean?
Went for a walk.
Oh, it's on
Are
Strava.
you my dad?
It's on Strava.
Yeah, okay.
It's on Strava. When you were sleeping, I was walking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
true.
PK's backed up 10Ks this morning, I reckon.
10Ks.
The funniest part was when I got up, I walked out, and there's you two in the freezing pool.
Mate, that's living straight up.
Never regret a cold swim.
Did we learn something this morning though? This place we're staying at, did we learn something about which way the
orientation
of the property?
You look over there. We've got the north-facing guys that are scooping up the north.
He's over there reading his paper, enjoying his coffee in the sun.
Well, you know what? To be more technical, that's probably. Yeah, northeast, scooping up the northeast. Obviously, the sun coming up. But, yeah, it's pretty cold down here in the pool.
It was freezing in the pool.
It was freezing. It was quite nice, though. Marcus was in the budgies.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. It was a bit confronting.
Had to wear the budgies. On the phone to Harry Walkley. Got him on FaceTime.
Shout out to Walkley.
The pepper budgies, too.
The chili willies.
Oh, is that the chili willies? Oh, God.
So he was even colder. But, Benny, you've got some news. You've cracked a milestone recently, and a long-standing milestone.
Oh, you weren't going to let that slip past, were you? No, man. You know what? Anyone playing at home, it's probably the coolest thing I've ever done. I got kicked out of school, right? Didn't do uni. Like I couldn't get into uni. Like no one was going to.
If you don't finish school, you don't.
No, well, I got kicked out of one school, went to another school. Like and then. I did actually do year 12, but I was there and couldn't get into uni anyway. So what am I? I'm pretty old. In my mid-30s, I started. I blagged my way into RMIT, into do my masters, And I finished it yesterday.
I remember when you applied, you had to get.
I remember you saying to me, "What are you doing, you idiot?"
Your current boss to write you a letter of recommendation.
Yeah.
To try and squeeze you into this course that usually is filled with 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
Yeah. So they've all done 4 years of their bachelors, is it?
Bachelors,
I didn't ever know, because I'd never done anything like that. It was actually, it wasn't my old boss. It was a guy that I was a site supervisor, and I ran his he did this sick office fit out.
Yeah.
I just got along with him really well, and I was telling him, I just want to get off the tools, man. I'm over this shit. And he was like, I'm thinking about going to uni, because I just knew I wasn't going to get a chance unless I sort of put myself out there, because I'd been on the tools for so long. So to anyone like
and you got yourself off the tools. Anyway,
I got myself off the tools by doing this, and you the whole way through, because literally it took me 7.5 years to complete, but after 2 years we pretty much had Little Fish going, and I could have easily stepped away, and there was many a times that I thought about it, but we've got staff that I met at uni that work for us, and I don't know, man. Like
never wasted, mate.
But man, I've got
It's
one.
a real testament, Benny. It's good.
Man, it's the craziest thing I've ever done, and my message is it's never too late.
Benny
And
has
as
a
long,
master's.
yeah, man. As long as you do whatever it takes, as long as I'll get it.
Benny John has his
it's never
master's.
too late. As long as you're
We'll put it
prepared
in
to
the
do whatever it
podcast studio.
takes.
Yeah, get the certificate.
Well, I've got my mate, the street artist Tristan, as you know, and we've got a courtyard out the back of the office. So I'm going to get him to do a bit of a street art.
Street art
Yeah.
PhD.
Yeah, it costs that much to bloody get it. You might as well get something, So, but yeah, look, like I was going to say, it's never too late. Whatever it takes, and keep turning up, because at 7.5 years ago, like where I was to where where we were on the Gold Coast now, about to sit down with a crazy guest, and I would never have picked it. So you create your own luck. You just keep turning up, and you never give up, man. And the other thing is, it's whatever it takes. And that uni course is that's like a shining beacon on that for me, because I could have stopped. Most people would have, because I technically don't even need it.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Only good things can happen if I keep turning up. And it's really hard to quantify, but we've got staff that work for us. And even the last class that I did was about agile project management, which was really valuable. And, we're launching some big stuff, which I've, learned about how to break them down into sprints and all this crazy stuff. So it's sick, man. So anyone out there that thinks it's too late, I'm a perfect example. I'm 44 now. I started that at, I don't even know. In 2016 I started. So, yeah, and I just kept showing up. That's all it was. And then all of a sudden, I was my fucking last class, man. Saying to some dude in the city, I walked out. It was the most overwhelming feeling. I walked out, and it didn't really dawn on me. And then I got to the bottom of the stairs at RMIT in the city, and it just went, when I just sort of felt this little bit of emotion. And a dude walked past. He had his headphones in. I made him take them out so he could hear me. And I said, mate, can you get a photo? And he took a photo on that. So,
Well done, mate. That's bloody impressive.
Nice work, Benny.
Yeah. So enough about me,
All right,
boys. We've
let's
got
get into
a
it.
huge one this morning.
Cracker one today. Welcome back to Australia's #1 podcast. We had a little fish. We speak to the big fish about town each and every week. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, drop a comment in the YouTube, give us a 5-star review. It all helps. The algorithm loves it. Please get into it. Today's guest started from humble beginnings at a weekend market. Firstly selling slippers to schoolies on the Gold Coast and eventually transitioning to streetwear. He and his partner in crime grew that company to a staggering valuation of 600 million Benjamin tickets. After partially exiting the business in one of Australia's largest private retail acquisitions, they sold just over half the company for a massive 307 million in cash and 23 million in AKA brand stock.
Wide straight over.
It's a big transfer.
Imagine that, boys. Blasting their way, fair to say, onto the Financial Review's rich list. They built the brand with a cult-like following and a VIP client base, including Snoop Dogg, Drake, and even the Biebs. Justin Bieber, Glenny's mate, Glenn Archer's mate. They did it all by taking significant risks and making bold moves, which we are pumped to unpack today. This is a big one, boys. Get excited. You're fresh. You've been in the pool this morning.
Oh, mate, I'm wide awake.
Give it up for co-founder of one of the world's most renowned streetwear brands, Culture Kings, Simon Baird.
Yeah, Simon.
Mate, big one to kick off.
Oh, huge.
That's an epic intro. Thank you.
I wrote that,
It's
Simon.
a good one.
I had plenty to work with, to be fair. Sometimes I can struggle, but yeah, there was plenty to work with.
That's one of your better ones, Benny.
Was it?
Yeah, readability-wise as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I ran it through Grammarly, as you do.
I'm starting to practice them now too, which probably doesn't hurt.
that's
Simon,
true.
thanks so much for coming in because you're a busy man. You got a lot going on.
Yeah. There's always, especially this time, there's so much opportunity everywhere. But you guys do an amazing job, and I'm excited to be on your show.
Awesome, Simon. Simon, can you tell us a bit about yourself? In the intro it talked about starting out in weekend markets and that sort of stuff, which is a great story in itself. But tell us a bit about yourself and where this sort of entrepreneurial guy come from.
Yeah, I feel I was just always had that entrepreneurial in my blood sort of thing. At school, I remember writing a goal. I never wanted to work for anyone my whole life. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, day dot. And I was always trying to sell stuff at school and hustle it. And then, as soon as I finished school, I started at the markets that next weekend. I just researched on the forums, these entrepreneur forums, and found this car baby product where you could buy it in China, for $1. And I was like, I could sell those for $20. So, it was the early days of Alibaba, and I basically put all the money that I'd saved, because I was just the tight ass kid, didn't spend anything from birthday money or Christmas or anything, and just pulled it and saved it and sent the entire lot to some random guy in China and hoped that he sent me the stuff.
And what was the product?
It was a car baby. It was just this invention of how you could send your mobile phone signal through the car radio.
Oh, yeah.
It was this hands-free. It was sort of great in theory. Didn't really work too good. But
So how much money were you sending off to China?
I think it was about $3,000.
$1 each.
Yeah, $1 each.
So you got 3,000.
3,000
down to the markets.
And then and it was a very common theme in my life. I brought all the stock, backed myself into a corner, and then I had to figure out a way to sell it.
Yeah.
And it was in that growth that I knew I couldn't bail out. I had to sell my way out of the problem, and that was a skill that I was absolutely useless at it when I started. But then I just knew it was a skill I could develop and learn it, and got better, and then I could sell it.
Yeah, that's a great concept, isn't it? There's no way out, is there? There's no plan B. You can't send it back. You get it and go, I've got to hustle this thing.
Yeah. And that was throughout Culture King's journey. There was so many of those moments where we call it back the truck up on something. We buy heaps of it. We think this is going to be it. And
Gone all in.
Yeah, and you've got to grow to sell it, and it forces that resourcefulness that's really required as an entrepreneur too.
Yeah, love it. You hear that a bit. I reckon the guests come in, like Nick Bell comes to mind. He's a fella, crazy entrepreneur also, and he was selling his mum's lunches, and he was selling all sorts of stuff at school. So I think that young age thing and the fact it's sort of got something to do with the way you're wired, I think's a real thing.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you find Alibaba? Because I found myself on Alibaba back in the day early, and you know what? I'm hearing your story. I'm kicking myself because I'd never pulled the trigger on a product, but I definitely went down that rabbit hole. How'd you find it? What got you onto it?
It was just, I was on these forums, entrepreneur forums, and just deep down there trying to learn and talk. And that's where I saw one guy was saying about, you just buy this stuff from China. And it was what the model was is basically as seen on TV products, because they're selling it with a demonstration. Well, you can buy it all from there. They're not patented properly and thing. You could just buy that direct from China, and then I would recreate the spiel, basically the as seen on TV, but with my own way. And that's how I did it. Because my next product, I went from that car baby to this digital camera, which was the same sort of thing, and as seen on TV product, but I created the real life demo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. So what do you sort of hitch yourself to that other marketing and that exposure to the product that's on TV, and then you go, I'm the retailer.
Or I would break down their spiel, like how they would do it, how they would show the features, and I would do it with a demonstration.
Yeah,
I
gotcha.
suppose that was a big difference for me at the markets. I never just sat there like I see lots of them and just hope someone walks up and buys it.
You were there saying, come have a look.
put on
Like a
freaking
spruiker,
show.
like a fucking spruker. Yeah.
And I would have a
Hot
microphone.
pies, cold
Yeah.
drinks, chocolate bars.
And I would, I'm a huge one. I would really shift my emotional state, really try and get myself amped and psyched up. I'd listen to Jay-Z back and jump up and be like, right, the show starts now. I'd come out and I'd go, ladies and gentlemen, the world's smallest digital camera. And I'd get them down. And people would just be flocked down there, like, what's this guy going on about, And I learnt as I got rapport, and I learnt the valuable thing is when two people meet, as long as there's rapport, whoever has more certainty influences the other person.
Yeah.
And I just said, I've already sold out a couple of colours. I don't want anyone to miss out. If you all just form an orderly line, get your $50 out, bang, 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 And people would just buy it. I swear some people would walk away at the end. They'd go to their friends like, what did you just buy? They're like, I don't know. They just get swept up in it. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a do whatever it takes mentality. Like you say, you go to a market, how many are just sitting there? We've all gone to markets.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there with their stock, maybe sitting on their phone, just waiting for people to come to them. But like you obviously moving your stock.
And a young guy as well, right? Because in markets, I would assume it was probably more middle-aged vendors.
Yeah.
And you're out there, young guy, just hustling.
Yeah. And I even tell that story of, believability weighted decision making. I built this as a real core principle. But because of this story is that I would go there and I had the camera and I'm smoking. I'm like, oh my God, this could be so huge. Imagine if this just had a waterproof case. And then I'd be like, I emailed the factory because I was like, imagine it, snowboarding, surfing, it'd be the ultimate camera. I emailed the factory and they're like, oh, we've just developed it for this US customer, this waterproof case. He hasn't paid the mold on it. We'll send it to you. You can have it if you want. I'm sure they would have just charged both of us. But anyway, I got it and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I went and showed the other people at the market. So what do you think of this? It's waterproof. It's, you take it snowboarding, surfing. This would be a revolution. And they all just said to me like, why wouldn't Canon have done that? Why wouldn't have Sony done that? How are you going to compete with this kid with them? Like, what are you going to do when it leaks? You're going to have to give everyone their money back. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's just and
you didn't do it, and GoPro.
Yeah, and then 3 months later, they email me and go, oh, we want to connect you with our US supplier. And he emailed me like, oh, do you want to be a distributor and sell my product down there? I'm like, you idiot. What are you going to do when it leaks? Anyway, that was Nick Woodman, the founder of GoPro.
Stop it.
Yeah.
No way.
And so I've actually still got the sample at home that was the actual mold of it. And it was like years later when I went to Harvey Norman and I saw the display with the, the surfing and the snowboard.
GoPro.
I'm like shaking my parents. I'm like, you don't understand. This was exactly in my head. Anyway.
So is that where your passion for selling and how you taught yourself to sell that those early market days? And
Yeah, definitely. I learnt that power of selling and attaching emotion to the product and how I could create that hype and really display the features and stuff. And I love that. I really love that sales process and I loved entrepreneurship. I was always trying different things that a lot of failed. But after I had that GoPro moment, I was really, because GoPro just went nuts all of a sudden and I'm stuck there selling my same non-waterproof camera at the markets.
The mates in the stores next to you going, how are you going with those cameras are flying, mate?
Yeah. Anyway, I then decided in that, I was like, okay, if I ever get that opportunity again, I'm not going to ask anyone's opinion, especially one that's not relevant, that doesn't have the context and the knowledge. When I get that feeling in my gut, like I'm going to run through a wall to make it happen. Nothing's going to stop me. And that's when I sort of felt this trend of streetwear. And I just loved it anyway. I was buying hats for myself and always buying clothes. And I just had this like disdain for like surfwear and stuff. I was like, oh, that's whack. You're like, this is so much cooler. And And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start this next to me at the markets. And I just started importing stuff from America and selling it. And I had such a love for it and such an energy that I could work non-stop. And yeah, that was, and as well, I met my wife at the time. So I had this schoolies slippers business, which was just I'd call a lifestyle business. It was just me to go back to schoolies every year and party.
And you're the only one selling legal shit to the schoolies as well. Just quietly.
Yeah. So, but it was just this it was just a hotel slipper with Gold Coast schoolies written on it. And it was awesome. We sold it. But my wife, I was seeing her at the time. She got fired from Zups because this was like 2008. And then I'm like, oh, just come help me in the markets. And then we just hit it off and went nuts because I was always like the ideas and the marketing and the sales, but really detailed and execution, I would just drop a lot of balls where she would just make it all dialed. And then we just went nuts and we absolutely crushed it. We sold 50,000 pairs of slippers. We like I always say this, like that line on the last day was like bigger than any Yeezy line or Jordan drop today.
So it become a real thing that you got to get those slippers before you head back.
It became
the king
this
slippers,
hype,
yeah.
And it became like this. Everyone was just walking around wearing them, and I was like, that's where I really fell in love with this thing of like trend and hype and catching the wave, because it's like it is just it's a really phenomenal effect if you can do it, and that's really led into the streetwear and the markets. I started with the streetwear and then just built from there.
Sorry to take you back. How much are you selling a pair of slippers for in the Gold Coast to schoolies kids?
$10.
And what are they costing you? $1? 50 cents?
Yeah, $1. Yeah. Yeah.
Back gig.
And whose idea was that? Was that one? Was just another one of yours?
Yeah, yeah. And we'd done some other merchandise too. We had like, these actually crushed it, but I don't know if you guys remember like the Kanye West shutter shades.
Oh,
Back with schoolies on it.
Yeah.
Those. And I just imported other stuff from, China and stuff to make. But yeah, the slippers were the sort of the flagship product.
Yeah, 100%. So you're at the markets and you met your partner and you guys are crushing it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a partnership where some of your faults were picked up by her and maybe vice versa.
Yeah.
So a match made in business heaven.
Yeah. And even today, like there's this amazing principlesu.com, like Ray Dalio put out this most epic personality test, which is free. It's better than the Myers-Briggs you pay like 10 grand for.
Yeah.
But when we do that and compare Tani and I, it's crazy. Like I'm 98% creative and she's 2% creative. I'm she's 98% detailed and reliable, and I'm 2% detailed. It's like exactly, it is so crazy when we saw that of like how we exactly complement each other's weaknesses.
Yeah, how good is that? So talk to us, you're at the markets. When do we create the brand and look at some shops, or how did that evolve?
I suppose because I'd been at the markets for quite a long time there, I'd started as the markets, when I was 17, now I'm like 23 something, and I'd always got this pressure, and all my mates would always call me like a carny, and I'd always be like, I always had,
carny.
well, but I was always this thing of like, they were all sort of getting proper jobs and stuff, and I was like, I'm still doing this thing at the weekend at the markets.
Okay,
and
so
I was
you
like,
felt the sort of pressure coming on to join the herd?
Yeah, and I always had this thing of I didn't want to be this Aussie small business battler. There is this thing in Australia of being like, I'm just the Aussie battler small business, where it's like, my thing is I always wanted to transcend that and build a big business.
Yeah.
I never wanted to, because and it's so many Aussie small businesses. I swear when you break it down, like the hourly rate, I swear some of them it's like $10 an hour.
Yeah. They've just built themselves a job, if that.
Yeah. And brutal hours.
Yeah, work 100 hours
Yeah. Pressure,
for yourself,
feed
so you
their
don't have
family.
to work 40 for someone else.
Yeah. No, I get that 100%.
And so, I started at the first shop just in Southport, and I just did the deal with the landlord direct, and I was so lucky I got no deposit or thing, and I could just fund it with the money we had.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just always did it real scrappy and real small steps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got that one store to work, then we did one in Brisbane, and then we just built it on solid free cash flow.
Yeah.
So we never got any loans or any sort
There's
of
a good lesson in
investors.
that, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was just it especially now I see a lot of when I'm investing in a lot of founders and stuff, they're just thinking about, well, how do we raise money or how do we do it? Where I'm like, just you got to sell what you got and just invest on that free cash flow. I know it can feel slow, especially at the start. It's that hard, that initial momentum, but you really build the muscle.
Yeah.
And that's what I always look back of. It was hard, but we built so much discipline in, financial discipline, work discipline, every part of merch and marketing, every department. We understood it, its fundamentals, that we could make the best decisions.
And would you say you guys grew with the business as well? I feel like these days it's like you say, raise money, how do we get there faster? But then you as a businessman or woman maybe aren't growing as quick as what you're sort of trying to ignite your business up to. So when you are making those massive decisions or that hard work, the discipline you talk about, maybe it's not within you to be running an X business.
A $10 million, you got to run a $1 million company before you can learn to run a $10 million company sort of thing.
Yeah,
Or
100%.
a $1 billion company in this case.
I definitely feel we grew with the company, and it wasn't like crazy growth, like 20 to 40% a year, but it was 15 straight years.
Yeah,
that was
compounding and growth and
that was and we would only do the next store when we had enough free cash flow to invest it, and we didn't spend it. This was a big thing that I see. Like there was lots of employees we paid where we were paying them more than we paid ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we weren't paying dividends. We were just reinvesting it to, here's the next store, here's the next IT upgrade, here's the next, CapEx that we needed to spend to grow.
Was there a just going back to the markets and that transition period? Was there a bit of a run that you went on that sort of gave you the confidence to go, let's get a store? And was there a specific sort of, was it hats or shoes, or was there something that really gave you?
I suppose I would walk around Pacific Fair and I would just see like the stores there, and one of them came to mind, like General Pants, and I'd sit outside and I was like, oh my God, that product would be so easy to sell in there. And the retail experience always had this thing of, I would call in sales a low warmth, low competence greeting, where it's like, it's, how's it going today, guys? Up to anything in particular? And it's like, where it's...
Do you need any help with the sizes?
Yeah, so it's like they don't really care about you. It's low warmth and they're useless, right? Because they're not showing anything that they're a figure of authority, they're an expert, which is the biggest thing in sales. And so I was always like, I swear I could just smoke these guys. And I always had that belief, and I really started that with just that first store and really training that in-store conversion metric of when people come in, how do we convert it? And this was always because I built this at the markets, right? Yeah. How do I just stop someone? How do I stop someone and convert it? I can convert like 20% of the time. So if I can just stop more people, well, how do I stop more people? I spruik on the mic and get of a crowd. And then it was just like a funnel. Yeah. And then I understood, well, that was the funnel in store. And then as online happened, then this is the whole marketing funnel that happened online. And it was like, it was always those steps. But that conversion metric of when you get
brings
someone,
your customer acquisition down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's
and if you create a true proper experience and you're a figure of authority and you do it right, that's where you create a proper brand experience that becomes a customer. And this is only this metric that I saw when we did the deal. They spent, millions of bucks on due diligence and they interviewed all these customers. But this crazy stat came back that I don't even know. But even though we were way more than half of our business was online, 80% of customers first experienced Culture Kings in a store, right? So it was the store experience that created and resonated that brand. And then we would just remarket online and sell.
That makes sense. How many times you walk past a Culture King store and there's like a DJ or there's an event, there's just shit going on all the time.
Lines out the door and I just want to take you back to your first store, and obviously you opened that as Culture Kings, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So how did doing our research as we do, but like the name of Culture Kings and how that stuck with you, and do you just want to talk us through that?
Yeah. So when I was at the markets, it didn't really have a name. It was just me selling some sort of stuff, and I was buying from different clothing stores in America, and as well I was actually on eBay at the time as well, selling quite a bit, like the eBay power seller, and that was a great way to learn the basics of ecom. But this brand that I'd brought a little bit of stuff off went broke in Miami, and I always remembered because its name was Culture Kings. I was like, oh, that's the best name. And it was like, and then straight away when I saw it got broke, I'm like, oh, would you sell me the name, sell me the domain and everything? He's like, oh, it's worth so much. It's this 300 grand. I'm like, oh, I'll get fucked, Anyway, and then I just came back and I kept going, oh, it's so good. It's so good. I know. And I was like, finally kept negotiating. I got it down to 30 grand. And I remember with Tani at the time, we're like, oh my God, this is like so much of our money just gone, like not invested in stock, this to just on a name. But I'm like, nah, I just know it's the one.
Man, that's
You must have just been so bullish on it.
Yeah, and it was just like, I suppose it was that gut feeling, like the GoPro thing. It was just like, after I got burnt so much, it was the biggest lesson. It was just like, no, when just grab it by the hair.
Would you agree that helped play a big part in the overall story as well? Like, would the story, if the brand wasn't as strong, do you think the story would have played out the same?
It is a great question, because I have this. I don't think a name can really make you, but it can break you. Is that I believe sometimes, and this is when I'm investing, because I'm always thinking like, oh, the trademarks and all this, because I've experienced, internationally, and how you can trademark them properly, can it be an international brand? But it is the thing is like, if your brand like pigeonholes yourself in a certain category, or like, that's where I sort of feel it could harm that long-term growth. Where what I loved about Culture Kings was it didn't narrow it to even streetwear, and even streetwear is so broad: sport, music, fashion, it's all the different crossover. And that's what I loved about Culture Kings, is that it was just this
transcending culture, whatever.
And it was it really gave me that energy, and like, oh my God, I can see it like being $1 billion brand.
So to pay 30 for you could have made up a name for free.
Yeah.
So you must have been so bullish on that acquisition, and like you're saying, did that give you that shot in the arm to go, we've got our name?
How much you spend on the
ready
logo?
to go to the moon.
30 for the name and
$100
and $100 for the logo.
Yeah, and it was our guy who was doing our screen printing at the time. Yeah, so yeah.
And it was a similar logo to it is now.
Yeah,
because it's definitely evolved. Yeah. That's epic.
Yeah, crazy. So one store going well, you go invest in another store, and it just keeps growing from there.
Yeah, and we just a big sort of unlock was, so we'd had online going from the early days, but those don't really know the early days of online was so brutal. It was so expensive. You had to have developers around the clock, like the Magento days. It would, honestly, I couldn't even sleep at night, because it would, the website would go down.
So the Magento is the CMS, right? The content management.
Well, so back then, that was how you would do your whole website. This was sort of pre-Shopify.
Yeah.
And we had to have all these really expensive developers, any little change. And there weren't many e-commerce retailers. Like, there weren't these little ones that were spinning up. And we had e-commerce going, and I remember like 2015, it was losing like 300 grand a year. And because we were competing with, the Surf Stitches, the Iconics, that were just shredding money hand over fist, but they were all on this long-term trajectory to grab market share. And I was like, oh, should we just shut down? Because stores were making so much profit. And I was like, should we just shut down e-com and just do more stores? It's just so much hard work. It's losing 300 grand. And I was like, it's the future. We've just got to stick it out. We've just got to just keep going. We're ahead of all the other retailers that weren't even close to even getting it live. And then Shopify came out, and that was the unlock.
Yeah.
Because straight away, I remember when we moved to it, everyone thought we were crazy. Like, what are you doing? That's for beginners. But it was the whole thing was that we could then focus on just actually selling the funnel, marketing, art, and not have to worry about maintaining it and all the work,
framework,
that was required to just keep the thing up.
Yeah.
You know, you could just bomb as much traffic at it as possible and it would work. That was the unlock right there. And then online really started to rip. And then we had great, AfterPay was a really big innovation in Australia, and we were really early on it, and then really adapted into our way of marketing and using it to upsell and just lift that average order value. And that was a real game changer, because if you can lift that average order value, lift that conversion, that just all drops to the bottom line, off the same traffic. It's such a one where any business I'm looking at, I just go straight for those metrics, because
So what were they again? So it was conversion
and average order value.
Okay.
Which is like how much
increases their
someone spends.
lifetime value.
Yeah. Which then usually relates to lifetime value. Or it's a metric that I use for the store, which was a game changer, is gross profit dollars per person in the door. So that way it takes in conversion, takes in average order value, but also takes in margin, because in our game, not everything we sell is the same margin. Like on a pair of Jordans, we're going to make a lot less than what we could make on a vertical brand that we own or something. So how you can help, that was a game change, that having that solid metric.
Yeah. Did you see that, that sort of evolution with AfterPay and stuff like that? Did you see that and jump on that and go, we can actually get more money off people because there's, pay it down the track?
100%.
Yeah.
And it was just that it was just such a revolution, because people were still doing lay-by.
Yeah.
And,
My mum.
and it was like, talking to my parents about lay-by, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, you don't even get the product, it's sitting out the back. But for the retailer, like, what a disaster that is. You've got to store this shit that no one's... that someone's
Man,
paid.
the counter to take the money when my mum would drive to the shopping centre to pay some money on her lay-by.
Yeah.
My dad was in retail, and I remember
was
being
too.
a young kid out the back, and the back was full of all these wrapped up stuff, and just taking a little bit of money off someone. It's like it just sounds so silly now.
That's when you see AfterPay. That's when I saw it. I'm like, and they didn't really understand it, but I was like, holy shit, this is just totally like lay-by's extinct instantly.
Yeah, gone, bang. Yeah, it just makes sense.
And that was that point that I was like, we went all in and pushing it almost a little bit too hard. I know it got to almost 60% of our revenue at one point was AfterPay. I was like, oh shit, we got to wheel this back, because otherwise we just, we could, if something ever happened to AfterPay, we'd be
That's
cooked.
right.
But,
Yeah.
It was, we really ingrained it into how we would sell and upsell and use it.
I just want to touch base about like your hype and the stores and the way you fit them out, and the celebrities that you bring in. Like, you walk past a Culture King store and you know that it's a Culture King store. They all have a very distinct
Smell.
Energy.
Energy.
Like,
Yeah.
And then you attract these big guys that, like Justin Bieber. I know that Ben Simmons was in. I think the Melbourne store not long ago. How did that sort of come about? Obviously, there's the streetwear and that's sort of coming from America as well. And then you're getting these big guys like Snoop Dogg, and how did that sort of play into it, and how did that sort of affect the business? And
so that happened in the early days. We basically had our very first store in Southport. We had one there and one in Brisbane, and some of Snoop Dogg's like entourage came in the day, and I was talking to him, get rapport, and I was like, oh yeah, he was Snoop Dogg in town. I was like, do you reckon you guys could come back through the store later? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, and I sort of worked like if I could bribe them or give them some stuff. And then I went back to their sort of hotel to help organize it, to get them to come past.
So you
the
made
store.
sure it happened.
But that's the thing. Then they rocked up, but it was the whole Superfest, which was this massive festival.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
then, so it was Snoop, Busta Rhymes, Nelly, but they were awesome. But the problem is it was all their entourage as well.
Yeah.
And basically, it just came like a free-for-all,
Yeah.
right? And this video Snoop posted on the thing, which was so awesome, where I'm, you know, he's talking to me like, don't worry, I got you. But you can see I'm absolutely shitting my pants in the video. It's because you can hear the beeping going off in the background. That's everyone stealing shit. But Snoop, you know, and I'm forever grateful for him. He's like, don't worry, you know, you gave away some
So
stuff.
he knew what was going down.
Well, but he was like, don't worry, I got you, you know, I'll make this the greatest thing that ever happened to you.
Right.
And then he tweeted on us and he did this and it blew up like our website, Magento, but instantly down. But then the Superfest was on Brisbane on the Friday. We had our biggest day ever there by like double.
On the back of...
Yeah, off that momentum. And yeah, it was a thing of like, I understood then the power of it. And then it was like, whenever they were in town, I was going to do whatever it took to get them to come in the door. And whether, you know, this was sometimes, bribing their entourage, whether it was working a deal with the promoter as part of we'll sell tickets, you organise this, whether it's just, you know, and then it was enough momentum that other people would sort of just swing off that of like, oh, where's to go shop? Oh, this Culture Kings shop, you know.
Yeah,
and
saw it on Snoop.
Yeah, and it would just sort of, that momentum would kick.
So Snoop understood what was going on that day. You were learning.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, you're right. This will work out. You're like, beep, 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 beep.
And it was so cool because we just had another one with him this year in Auckland and stuff. And then when I met him and, you know, and he spoiled about it, he's like, yo, you've done good. You've done good. It's like, so.
Yeah, that's crazy. Can we sort of track towards the sale? Like, how does that come about? Like, when you start this Culture Kings, you paid good money for the name and the brand, and you're so bullish on it, and then you get to a space we could sell this. You know, what are those conversations like?
So we built this great sort of momentum. We got about 50% online and 50% stores, which I always believed like this was the perfect model. I was like, we're ahead of our time, and this was pre-COVID. Yeah. And I was like, I really want to take on the US. I believe this is, you know, we can go all around the world, iconic cities, create the Disneyland of street sport, music, lifestyle, culture, and then scale it through online. I was like, this is the model. But I was like, I've seen a lot of brands take on the US and fail. And we built such a big business, but we'd never paid ourselves any real dividends. We'd only been on like a small sort of salary. And we were like, shit, we're betting the farm. And it was that great advice I got from different mentors and stuff of like, you know, why not sell part, take money off the table? And once I worked out, oh my God, the valuation, because I didn't even know what this thing called EBITDA was. And when they explained it, I was just like, oh, that's not even real. But I'm like, okay, we could.
I'll go with it.
Yeah. And then it's like, because it was for us, it was always off the free cash flow. And then I was like, okay, we could sell half the company. We could get, you know, this money off the table, and the rest we could let it ride. Yep. And so we went through the process. We just started pre-COVID, and then COVID hit. And we're like, oh no, forget it. Don't worry about it. But everyone was sort of interested and had a look. And then as COVID just went nuts, right? Because we were already 50% online, and then we just doubled down on scaling online, and we grew faster than ever. Yeah. And then as everyone sort of came knocking that back part of 2020, I was like, okay, you know, and I knew it was the right time to do a deal, because it's like, you don't want to sell a business when, you know, you need to sell it, right? You want to sell it when you're like, no fucking way I'm selling this, right?
It's a good mindset to be in when
opposite.
you're negotiating.
But that's when I knew that was the right time to sell.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, here's this part. If we could sell half, and and we came to the deal, and that was the best part, is not needing to sell it. I just kept flubbing off, and the price just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, you know? you were back. You were selling again, spruiking like you're back at the markets.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, are you guys kidding? Surely we can do better than that.
People don't value what they don't fight for, and that's part of the model that I got to. And then, we were able to do the deal. And, you know, so half for 300 million cash, and then half in the shares, and we were going to, flip into an IPO and this to the moon. I was like, okay, this is awesome. We can still see it, lead it, make it all happen.
Yeah.
And then one of the bigger dinosaur retailers came at the last minute and goes, oh, well, we'll pay $850 million, but we want 100%.
Yep.
And we were like, Tony and I were like,
wowzers.
oh, shit. What do we
From
do?
the clouds.
Yeah.
To the
But
moon.
we sat down and we did the decision matrix, and we're like, seriously, what are we going to buy with $850? We're not going to buy with $300.
Yeah.
And, there's only differences, stupid yachts or stupid planes, But for us, it was, I'd spent all this time in these morning meetings every day attacking the dinosaurs of like, these guys are... All they do is put a shoe on the wall and fucking, that's all they do. We tell the story, we create the show. And then I always feel like the biggest sellout. Be like, anyway, we've just sold 100%,
Yeah.
So I was like, nah, let's do this way. And Warren Buffett's analogy, one in the hand is better, one bird in the hand's better than two in the bush.
Yep.
Because this is the thing with these deals. They can still fall over and part of that because the due diligence and everything that has to go through. And I was like, no, let's do this. And we did it. We got 300 mil cash off the table, which was like, I never slept better since then. Because it is this thing as an entrepreneur, no matter how big the business gets, this pressure never releases.
That is so
off
true.
Your fucking neck.
Absolutely.
And it's like, and it got bigger, as the thing. It's like, oh my God, our wage bill's $500,000 a week. All these people, families are relying on that. We got to keep selling shit to keep.
So did you get to a point where you go, I can actually release this pressure, which
300 mils the number
over a
Pete.
decade? Yeah,
I've got a bit to go.
happy with that number.
Nah, that was and it was definitely like, oh, okay, it's all sort of house money now. It's all fun.
Yeah,
it's all like, and it enabled us to take a really long-term view, which I think was so vital.
Yeah.
But we flipped into a AKA Brands, which is a public company, but the problem is a public company's got to run quarter to quarter.
Yeah.
And so I'm more aligned on like, fuck the quarters.
Yeah. Crazy vision.
Because you held on to the stock, and that stock has since gone down.
So it went up.
Yeah, it went crazy
and
up.
it went up to like, just the shares alone were worth like, well over 500 million.
So you're back at your 850 again.
Yeah, I was like, and this is the thing, like success plants the seeds of failure. I was like exactly like those crypto kids or the NFT guys, like everything to the moon. I was calculating, like this is a bit embarrassing, but I was because the share price is going up every day, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm going to be a billionaire. And then I'm like calculating the share price of what it'll be where I'm going to be a billionaire. I set this Zapier to play through my Sonos speakers like the Jay-Z, a billy. And I'm like, it's
when
gonna,
it happens.
Yeah, because it's like, it's going to go off in the middle of the night. And it's like this, it's just going to go through the speakers, and I'm just going to wake up and just be like, yeah.
Billionaire.
Anyway, it never hit that share price. The song is still there. It hasn't gone off.
It will, though. It will, because it did. But, and I remember online the days that sort of happened, there was like externally, there was like news articles written, people made a big deal. But in my mind, I was like, he hasn't fucking sold him, man.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
And the share price had gone down like well over a year, and they made it seem like
it was like overnight.
I lost 500 million in a day,
Overnight,
and
yeah.
it's like, and yeah, it was crazy. Heaps of people were reaching out to us like, "Oh, you okay?" It's like, oh, Jesus.
From your penthouse, it's not going all right.
Yeah, it's like, but it is, it was definitely. It's been so much learning in through that public company and the private equity and the part of how it's worked. I've learned so much through this process, and I suppose that's where I was a bit like, at the start of the year, I was like, I'd gone so deep on ChatGPT, and I was like, oh my God, this AI is like everything. It's gonna change everything, and just part of the public company, I really didn't like being on so many meetings and stuff a week, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to step out from the day to day. I'm going to stay on the board because I'm still got like that big shareholding. Yeah. But my more thing is I really wanted to go deep on AI, learn it, understand it, and because I just know there's just going to be the revolutionary, because it's like always comes back to Elon's first principles, right? That is, I've always tried to live by, but, you've got to boil stuff down to its fundamental truths and then reason up from there.
Yep.
And it's like, the thing is with this AI, just totally reset the fundamental truths on so many roles. Wait, you don't need to do that now. Wait, you don't need this person now. Wait, there's a better way.
Yep.
And I really want to be on the forefront and understand that, because I believe that the opportunities are going to be once in a lifetime.
Yeah. Well, Benny's on our front line. So
Yeah, no, I'm trying, and I watch some of your stuff, to be fair, Simon, and whenever I see those, you see those carousel, the carousel Instagram where they go 10 tools, I make sure I check all 10 out.
Yeah.
And it's all part of my day. And shout out to a mate, I've got a mate of mine in the same, Ant, he's doing the same. Like, he's got a successful digital marketing business, Ignite Online, which he started 20 years ago when he first left uni, and he's pivoting, man. Like, he's got other dudes running that, and he's looking to set up just go deep in AI, man. So it's the future for sure. Like, you don't even, I was going to throw myself under the bus then. I won't do that with me uni, but
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, yeah, it's crazy because if you really open up your mind, you can use it in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. People just think it's like it's there, but it's not. It's everything.
It's the whole thing of, you've got to go to the next level of thinking. And that's that thing, is when you when you sit in front of ChatGPT, it's like, what's the question? And you go blank, because that's the actual thing. You've got to go to that metacognition, the next, Albert Einstein, you're not going to solve the current problem with the current level of thinking. You've got to go to that higher level. And that's to really develop the right prompt to ask the right question. And that's where it's really turned everything on its head. It's not so much of doing this thing, it's
prompt.
further upstream.
Yeah, man. It's reverse engineering those prompts and the people that understand how it works to really get the value back. Yeah, it's crazy. It's wild. Bonnie uses it. Bonnie, you've been using it for audio, editing, captions, like, you name it. And you know what? Last year, how much problem did we have with audio and stuff?
Right. Yeah.
We were just figuring this out, right? And it felt like every week there was another audio issue or whatever, whether it be reverb or whatever. But now it's almost like drag and drop, Bonnie.
Income AI. Hey, Simon, quick one. When you and Tani, were thinking about, hey, do we do the deal? Don't we do the deal? What come to mind was a good friend of the pod, Mark Walkley. He did a sale. He had a big shop fitting company, but he said one night there was this sort of epiphany of, big numbers getting thrown around, and he said, and you said betting the farm to keep playing the game. He said, who am I, or how big's my ego to create generational wealth for my family, loved ones, whoever it might be. Who am I how big's my ego to get in the way of that, to keep playing, to keep sitting at the table and playing the game when you've created this opportunity to change lives.
And that is the thing. It's exactly like you're at the roulette table.
Yeah.
You've bet like
you're going
500
well, but
times in a row and won. And it is the thing is, but you don't, like for us, we had nothing really off the table. Like, you're betting the whole amount every time.
Yeah.
It's like, why not just take this chunk, put it in your pocket, and it's, you're set, and then just the rest is all fun.
Well, it's harder. It's easy to say, and in hindsight, and even like the experience of the stocks going up.
Yeah.
When me and Pete have been in crypto for years, so we're very versed on how you hold on to the bottom sort of thing. And it's easy to say it. It's almost impossible to do it. So the fact that you were able to do it, that's insane. Yeah. Because it's a bit high stakes. And were you and Tani on the same page? And was there a moment when you knew, or was it like you were in, you were out, you were in for all, you were out for half?
Tani wasn't as in as I was, but I was like, I suppose I was looking at it as well. I was like, we'd always grown between 20 and 40% a year. And then suddenly with COVID, we grew 120%. And I was like, I didn't get 120% better. As much as I'm like thinking it's all me, I was like, the job keeper, like we never got it as a company, but obviously our customers were huge benefits of this, because early in that, when they first announced it, I remember talking to someone who was like this Qantas pilot with 6 kids. He got laid off. He was getting $750 a week. But then the next one was like, oh yeah, my son, 15 and works at Macca's. He's getting $750 a week. He doesn't even know what that looks like. And I'm just like,
he's buying a new jacket.
I'm like, holy shit, we're on here. So I just literally doubled down on the marketing. Yeah. And that's that thing is, I always say a principle of ours: scared money doesn't make no money. You've got to, when you see it, you got to. We threw down on the marketing, and the thing is, because everyone pulled back, like CPMs were so cheap, it was actually like, I remember looking at the ROAS going, this can't be right, or like, and then I was just like, just keep.
Everyone got out of the way.
So just doing the opposite again. So the same as what you've done with the stores, the experience. You've sort of, if everyone's going that way, the beards are going that way every time. So can we go back to the experiences and stuff? So Snoop Dogg was like the first celeb, and that's how all that kicked off. But what made you go? Because I used to DJ back in the day. So and that was aligned. I think when I was DJing was when the stores you'd walk past and there'd be music. How did all that come about? What made you guys go? I think your analogy was the Disneyland, and you put on the show. Like, when did that click for you to go, this is how we stand out, this is how we separate ourselves?
For me, I always wanted to create this high energy, exciting experience. And I always thought of a destination of like, people don't go shopping. Guys don't go shopping every weekend, but when they do, and if you get them in the right state, they're like, fuck it, I'll do the whole winter right now.
That's me, man. Once a year, man. You got me, dude.
And especially if you get someone with the right, they'll give you the right high warmth, high confidence greeting. That's a figure of authority. It's an expert. You're just like, let's go. Like, and so our stores were always built for that, for myself, that young male customer and that high energy. I used to think of that nightclub experience, that how could we create it, that you would get those guys to that fuck it, let's do it moment, and they're like, bag it up. And that's all the stuff, the not for sale, the duffel bags, and how we would build that average order value. That was always built around the store. And that's why we chose Vegas as our first US store, because it's the entertainment capital of the world.
Of course.
But I was always like, those guys go there, for the destination, the Bucks party, the 21st birthday. Yeah. And I always, like, this Culture King store will be like, oh, I've got to go check out that shop I saw on TikTok. And then they go there, you create the experience, you resonate it. They're like, oh my God. When they fly back to Milwaukee or whatever, they get hit with that remarket ad because we got their email, their SMS. Bang, that's where they shop again. And then you create it. So that was always the destination store, and then follow it up with online.
How's that? The day the store opens in Vegas, man. Like,
that's pretty cool.
So how many stores are you at now?
We've only got 9, so it's not like there's...
But they're superstores,
they're proper,
right? They're proper
stores.
Yeah. Like you said, they're almost like theme parks.
Yeah, and it is the thing is, they're... we definitely do the gamification and all that in there. It's definitely around creating those... so our purpose, our why, create magic moments for our customers, our teammates, and ourselves. It's this big thing. If we can create those peak experiences, that's what's going to resonate the brand.
Hijack that one, PK. That's a good one. Can I ask some of I know the people listening at home, we all dream of 300 mil or these big conversations. Can I ask, which might be a little bit shallow, but do you remember, like, when the money went in, did you refresh and it was a refresh, and then did you have... Did you sit on it for a bit, or were you itching for it to come and you had some big purchases that you wanted to go, that because you've said, which I love, because me and Pete have been the same with our business, no dividends. Yeah. You guys have lived skinny. You've paid other people more than you've paid yourself, which we've done exactly the same sort of thing, because we want to keep investing in what we're doing. So was when that moment actually came, what was that like, and how did you behave?
Yeah, it was awesome. I actually got it into my first bank account, like my Dolomite account. It was so annoying to even get into it, but I really wanted to get it in there. And then it was so good refreshing it. But the second it did, I ran to the ATM to do the check balance thing.
Get the slip.
Yeah, because I always used to remember those.
They had to do it on a
print out a couple.
They couldn't do a portrait. They'd have to do it landscape.
Yeah. But I always remember going to the ATM and, those moments where you're like, whoa, how much is, the check balance? You don't want to do it. So I was like, I wanted to just get that receipt. But yeah, we didn't, I really had that, I spoke to other people, to get that advice of the same situation. And it was this thing of, for the first 6 months, just don't touch it. Like, it's the Charlie Munger thing. For a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. When you got 300 mil, it looks like there's fucking nails everywhere. Like, yes, I want to rebuild this resort in Bali. This is a great. Yes, and it's this thing of from that I was disciplined, and I agreed with my wife I could buy a little of my long overdue toys that I'd missed out on that I could have got earlier and pushed them out. So I just brought some of the stuff that, I always love cars and stuff. But other than that, we've just been, invested very cautiously. And
it'd be pretty special to go through that with Tani.
With your best,
like
your best mate,
sit
man.
there and
like,
go, I'm thinking I want this. What do you want? What are you picking? Like, and you've done the
How
work.
much sweeter is it? Imagine if you were
also
by yourself, you sit there, you're going through those moments refreshing, you're going, how good am I? Yeah. But to go through with your best mate and experiences, make it even better.
And the part too of like, when we were together, like, when we started, I owed her money, from this, I couldn't even pay her. I'd said I'd pay her $1,000 a week. 6 weeks into a relationship, we started sharing money.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like,
because there wasn't enough
I was
of
like,
it.
well, just whatever we pay for, we just survived, and we did it together and we worked 100-hour weeks, we did a solid 5 years without a real holiday in there, and just doubled down. And, it was so good to hit that moment and knowing that, we did it together. And
because it wasn't all wins, right? Like, I remember reading, like, there was a fire at one point. Like, was there a lot? So, because it sounds like anything you touch turns to gold, but that can't be the case.
Oh no, there's tons of huge mistakes across the board. But we had a fire. We lost $10 million in a day, and it was like, just like and Tani was pregnant at the time, and the worst thing is we got this alert on our phones, and then we were like checking the cameras, like, oh my god, and we were driving to Brisbane watching it burn on the phone, and like your mind does the most silly things in that thing. I was like, just don't hit that big Jordan delivery. Go around. Anyway, when we got there, it was just nothing left, and we'd had 100 staff and a thing, and like, how are we going to survive? But I always say this is like, I got up that next morning, I did my real discipline routine, cold plunge thing, Wim Hof breathing, and I was like, nah, fuck it. If I was back on the street with $50, I could build this thing back.
Do it again.
Yeah, let's just go. And I never worked harder. I never got more done in like that next 3 days. Like, we got a new warehouse, got deliveries, got, all the stuff in motion, and we actually grew more by the end of the year out of that fire. So it was one of those pressure moments. There's a great book, Anti-Fragile. It's like a huge thing as an entrepreneur. You're signing up to the anti-fragile life, where when something breaks, you don't just grow back to where it was, you grow back stronger. And it's this whole part of like, when we went through that moment of losing it, it was like, no, we're gonna come back stronger out of this and apply even more energy, more,
So no victim, just mindset. Let's go.
That inner belief and the way you back yourself in, and you've always sort of, you talk about your morning routine, which almost probably sets everything up, but like you've had that from such an early age where you don't want to work for someone else. You want to do it on your own. There's no loans. It's just this compounding thing that you just have that inner belief that you can take it anywhere, and the setbacks build you even greater.
It doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Yeah,
it's incredible.
100%. Simon, man, you're a busy man. We've got one segment. This has been amazing. By the way, but we've got one segment. It's a fish tank. Brucey runs it. Bruce Town. People call in, drop an idea, business idea. And we see if we invest or not. Hypothetically, we're not asking you to invest in something.
No.
Not on camera. No.
So, Simon, thank you for coming onto the fish tank today.
Very formal.
This one is called Dropship Me. So, Dropship Me is the game-changing web-based service revolutionising online shopping, utilising AI. Our platform swiftly identifies products at the best prices using UPC, EAN, or ISBN codes. think you know.
Yep.
Nodding your head. Customized purchase bots for targeted price ranges or locations, giving you full control. Gain valuable insights with basic product analysis to optimize your online marketplace. Experience convenience, affordability, and success with Dropship Me. Join us now for a seamless shopping journey and unlock endless possibilities. So I think it's essentially like you talk about AI and the next steps. What do you sort of...
Is it like a trading platform or something?
No, it's like I get it. It's like a winner take all shopping platform where you're basically going to use your algorithm to connect to search the web to find the best price and serve it up.
And then you drop ship that and on-sell it?
Yeah, and try and clip the ticket somehow in there. I do... It definitely makes sense, but I do think there is a big risk there with Google and all their new generative AI, and it's like the new ChatGPT with the plugins and how that will actually already do that automatically through searching the entire web, not just because this would still have to be products where you've got to sign on the people that they're going to actually give you a clip.
Yeah.
Right?
So you still need to create deals and relationships.
Yeah, where sort of Google and stuff is going to have everything. And this is where, like, I feel there's going to be huge disruption in there. And I definitely like the idea of slotting in there, but I don't think it can just be as broad as, like, there has to be some sort of niche part that they can protect.
Yep.
That it's not...
Yeah.
It's
They
not.
They can market,
Google.
position themselves as the authority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to create that sort of
Those
value because that's going to be hard to do those deals and create that, get enough inventory sort of on there that you can clip the ticket of. Unless
That's some
That's
great
good
info.
insight.
That's epic advice.
Glad you explained that, Simon.
We're probably lucky we got Simon today.
So thank you.
So are you investing?
Yeah.
Investing
I definitely would. I feel that has to be niche down. Like, is there a specific market that you could go after and do that in, that you could sort of protect it? That's where I think it needs to be, rather than I love big ideas, like where it's like, you know, but I do think a lot of people do this in business where it's a bit like you try and boil the ocean. You know, you've got like a niche product. Like for us, you know, when I started Culture Kings at the markets, like I loved all different this and sneakers and that, but I started with one Dickie short and I sold that Dickie short. And then I started with 2 or 3 and then I went up to 10 colors in that one Dickie short because I nailed that one product. Yes. And there's so many times where I would love different brands or thing, but I was like, no, you've got to make sure you know, what you do,
Stick to your knitting.
Yeah.
That's what Walkley says. Stick to your knitting.
Yeah.
So Dylan Richards, friend of the show, who sent that one in. So
You do?
you're you know, you think that there's definitely a possibility in a market there. You just need to find your niche. So and even working with yourself, I think you'd be able to find it.
Yeah.
I reckon you've got.
So you in, Pete? I'm in. If I'm back in Simo, if he's in, I'm in. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't hear he was in, and I just heard going up against Google, so I might just park myself for a bit and
and I got one
stick
more
to my knitting.
I got one more question. I've got it. I'd be
Hang on,
remiss.
we're still on
Oh,
the fish
sorry.
tank.
Yeah, true.
Hijack his fish tank.
So Simon, are you vesting or are you keeping your money under the mattress?
Under the mattress for now.
Righto. All right.
Mine's going next to Simon's under the mattress.
There you go.
Same.
Oh, fair enough. Thank you very much, Dylan. Send your best business ideas to pitch at littlefishpodcast.com. Sort of around that 80 words or more, or less. That's our sweet spot, I think. 80 words.
Yeah. Otherwise, we get a little bit confused.
Yeah, that's right. But if you get your pitch read out, then Benny will send you some crispy merch, like this one right here. Maybe.
Set for the stain.
Yeah.
Zoom in on the stain there, Bonnie.
I'm a serial.
Mate, he can't
You
get
are,
anything
you
in
are.
his mouth.
It's only when I'm with you boys as well.
Well, that's not true.
It is.
That is not true, man. I saw you boys were at the footy the other night, and I saw a story, and you
said
dropped
me.
something,
Yeah,
and
Peter.
we shot a podcast. I won't say where, an epic podcast the other day,
yeah.
and literally you dropped a bun me as we were about to sit
Yeah.
down.
All right, Benny, final
I
question.
do have a fight. It'd be remiss not to ask, right? Does money buy happiness? Like, is that like? Because we get a lot of different answers, and someone that's genuinely got generational
Seen
wealth,
both sides
seen
of it.
both sides of it. You know, is it the money that buys happiness, or
I think it expands of more of who you are, right? So I just think if you're like a asshole, it just makes you a way bigger asshole.
It's the old
And it just-
amplifies.
it just amplifies it. But I do like it is amazing feeling of having that level of comfort, and which is can be a negative thing as well, the comfort to not grow. But I just do. It's this. I love this feeling of like. Did you ever remember when you first went to like, the Virgin Lounge and someone got you in or something? You're like, oh my god, all this buffet, it's all free. And it's like, oh, it just tastes better. It's because it's free, and it's like, but it's sort of like that's what I was. It's like that, but it's like everything. It's like everything on Uber Eats, everything, and it's like, but then
you get conditioned? So would you say you get a little bit conditioned to it? Where it's less.
It sounds like you didn't do anything with it for 6 months, so it sounds like you've got that discipline.
Yeah, I do feel I've been conscious because I've definitely seen and heard of people that have got it and, made big mistakes or
Splashed it a bit.
or
not
other
be- or not
side
being
too,
happy,
or let them depress it because like, well, what is there?
Yeah, what do I do now? I think
Yeah.
I've heard dudes online say they have a big win and then they feel lost, because I can't remember who it was. It was like a gamer or something online, made all this money and then all his mates were still at work and had no one to hang out with and nothing to sort of do with it. So
It sounds like you love the process as well. And you still obviously...
That's why you stayed in.
I do have one more question, PK, if you'll let me do it, because it was on my list. Because when we did the research, or when I did some research, I remember reading or listening to something where you said 30 million was the number. Where after 30 million, it really doesn't change much. It's good to have goals. All our entrepreneurial listeners are out there, all trying to make money. That's what we're all doing. It as a target. Is that accurate? Is that accurate? Recollection of the statement?
Yeah, I just sort of felt like there's this incremental part, but above that, like I don't understand what is it unless you're like just mad about yachts.
Yeah,
or
crazy
planes.
yacht. Yeah.
There's sort of nothing.
There's nothing
else
left to
there.
get. Yeah.
So you're a little bit like, get the house, get the cars, get the lifestyle.
Well, yeah, and that's only if you're into cars. Or
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
into,
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
whether it's be traveling or whatever, still you got to be able to do that on any sort of level. Like that is the number that I sort of feel past there. But it's.
And that's a personal, that's a personal viewpoint.
That was just 100% personal.
Yeah.
To me, but that was just what I was sort of saying is like, that's,
Starts to get excessive and potentially wasteful past that.
well, it's just like the only other part is, it is great that you can do stuff with it and give it back to the right thing, but there's not going to be anything for you that you're
anything
missing out.
tangible that you can't climb into, or
If you need more, you might have to have a bit of a look in the
strap
mirror.
on.
Yeah, we speak to a lot of people, and some of their most happiest moments and stuff is not when they've made the money themselves, but when they've actually given
It's
back.
the giving back. Yeah.
Yeah, because you get that serotonin like when you buy something, but you actually get it more when you give.
That's what we've
lasts
learned.
longer.
Yeah.
All right, Simon, this has been awesome, mate. We'll let you go, but yeah, great chat and some awesome insights. 30 mil's the number,
That's what. Yeah.
To the moon, boys, to the moon.
But the fact that you grew slow, one store got that right, that store paid for that store. I think there's some amazing lessons in there, and slow and steady wins the race.
Slow as smooth, smooth as fast.
Yeah, that's
That's on our wall.
golden.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Anything you want to shout out? Anything you're working on?
Oh, what about the 1%? The
1% Club?
No, not 1%. The podcast that you bought out. Jordan. Yeah.
Jordan.
That's
yeah,
it. The
just
private
part
club.
of One Life Club.
One Life
yeah.
Club. I keep calling it the 1% Club.
Yeah.
One Life
Yeah,
Club.
it's just because I spend so much on personal development and learning, and I wanted to bring out these ones that I know I learnt so much from and implemented it. And rather than I've been to some of these ones where they have like a great speaker, but then they got 8 hours of people flogging your scam shit
Yeah,
before it.
yeah.
And it's just like, oh, just do it and just have that person. And so, yeah, that's what we wanted to do. And, you know, that's the part is we started with Jordan, who was awesome, and hanging out with him for 5 days. You know, I was telling you, it's like I felt like I haven't lived after hearing his crazy stories and stuff. But yeah, we just want to do more of those really cool events with really good learning and actionable insights that are tools on your tool belt that you need as an entrepreneur that you can't outsource.
Absolutely. That's an epic club. I've sort of I dived into it a little bit. I actually heard about it through shout out Nick, who I play basketball with. So anyone out there, One Life Club, it's an epic little club for entrepreneurs, and it's like...
It's a good name.
Yeah.
I like the name.
Oh, except for the 1%, One Life. I keep...
Well, yeah. You just look at getting them right. But the One Life Club, it talks to you. I think it explains what we're all doing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Go for it. Yeah, that's right. Simon, thanks so much for your time, mate. Amazing story. Keep doing great things. People, please like, share, subscribe. Anyone that's going to get value, drop it in the comments.
Share it to a mate.
Brucey will be in there talking to you.
I'll respond.
See you at the top.
Thanks, Simon.
People want to be part of a winning team.
People can find a better version of themselves if they choose.
You just need to go start some shit.
Action is all that matters.
Be a man of your word.
I think I look back now and I'm like, whoa, that took some guts.
Be kind, be kind, be kind.
See you at the top. New episode every Wednesday.